like vibe that I get from how teams want to play a map. You're gonna have such separation at the top and bottom level of teams because when we have a map set, for the most part, that's just run it down central, you're not gonna get a lot of variety in the plays that you're able to make, except for like opening break. So like, yeah, if you win an opening break and you're a good team coming off rip, awesome, congratulations, you guys did a good job. What separates things in this game a lot more than previous CODs is fundamental placement around the map afterwards. So like, once you take that first break, where do you go next? Where does everybody kind of push out on the map? That's been something that's been true in COD for years, but this year, like single and like individual plays are a lot more important than they have been beforehand, just because every little move that you make on the map just feels like you're going to be able to get in the position to either get behind somebody or watch somebody spawn. Every move that you make in a hard point specifically has a chance to flip out spawns. It's not guaranteed you're going to flip it out, but they're not the stickiest at times. So lots of conversational topics and pieces to be had. In the CCL, though, I am excited to see how teams progress over the course of the year. And of course, we can't forget about an illustrious, maybe a map or two added into the pool throughout the year, or to MW3, like we saw last season with Rio and 6-star, and I think that changed up the meta and the way the game played a lot. So this first map going into it, look, you got Kaiser, you got Exotic. Two names on that Wichita State roster that immediately jump off the page at you. If you don't know who Exotic is and you don't watch Challengers, hey, where you been, buddy? If you didn't watch the CWL back in the day or even early CDL, you should probably know who Exotic is. John is a Fry God, and he's probably just going to do the same thing he normally does, just slay out and let his team play around him to get the win. Kaiser going to be in step with him at every point, every stretch. Talking about the opposite side for Texas State, though, you've got DOA, Ferg, Splody, and Astonish. If you don't know Splody, you got to love Splody. Everybody loves Splody. Everybody in the chat loves Splody. I love Splody. You love Splody. We love Splody. But DOA and Astonish also phenomenal players. You got Ferg tagged on there as well. Enough talking about the players individually, though. Let's see how they play as a team. Map 1 starts now. Hardpoint in the bridge control for top P1 side is going to be 1, at least at the moment, for Texas State as they go 3-1 off break.
And look at exactly what Wichita are trying to do here. Again, out of control. They actually spawn against the northeast side of the map, and then Texas State tried to, again, fundamentalize where can we create the line. You see this line right here in the middle, completely perpendicular. A flip has formed. Now, this is how Vault usually gets Mixie in the first point, and this is kind of the set strategy that we'd like to encourage early on. It's going to cause confusion straight away. The smaller maps tend to have a bit more of a priority in terms of working the sub players find their best footing and what is the correct pathing to even predict your opponents. Well, early on, not so much utility, early gunfights, which is a nice usual change for Vault, where you sort of commit 2 nades as a team from the break off. Both teams are really going out guns blazing and swinging for the fences. And in terms of actually what do we want from this point here, a simple 1-point margin between both teams, and the 1v1 for next is all beautifully secured by Texas State Esports.
Astonish was in the back spawn for about 25 seconds there, so he makes the play to allow his team to push through middle map, try to create a pinch on the Texas State players as they push over towards New. In the back line, though, as Astonish falls, Splody should be there, and Zepp is going to try and pick up one on the backside. So, all tied up at 16, still very early inside of this hard point here. On a nice vault. The Splody hops in towards the point. Still lots of contention in the back end. Spawn still going wayward for each team. There was splits and parallels for just a moment, but it looks like they're going to hold firm in just a second. And the Splody inside of the hill is going to get dropped by 1. It's 2 for 1. Wichita State will be back on top, but Texas State trying to break by once again.
And 2 consecutive hills as well. Wichita have not won initial and even lost a 1v1 crucially to rotate, which I'm starting to now understand how we still seeing a scoreline at 17 and 26. And this is really, really concerning me to a point where I feel like Texas State needs to get more time off of these beautiful blessings and wonderful team coordination plays. But on the rotation to New, again, they win the exact same battle. Doe was first up there as well, with Kaiser just sort of lurking around Palace, making sure again that they can form a flip at some point in time. But I really think, again, when you look towards the south side, it's cutting off beautifully for Wichita State. They've got a wonderful gripping of 4 players, and then again, Deuce is cutting off the middle, holding an awkward off angle. It creates all this tension now where Texas State have to start, playing proactive, but I really think, again, when it comes to the spacing, Wichita just can't seem to find the right rhythm.
Pretty shots from Kaiser. The hill sit vacated for just a moment, so great time for the first and last 25 on that initial set. Players now pushing up from Wichita State. They'll be able to play behind the pillars, but those close spawns and that double door head glitch that you can get from the tree going to prove to be powerful for Texas State as they try to push through middle map. John Exotic will try to dance around with Ferg, but Ferg gets the best of him in this 1 versus 1. Kaiser on 4 in a row, just playing back top art. Wants to make sure he secures the rotations over by P4, and with 15 seconds left, Texas State now has the task in hand of having to try and not only push Kaiser out of this spot, but deal with Exotic on the opposite end as they tag team towards the bottom of ART.
And this is always the riskiest hill to deal with P3 out of the whole bunch. Again, the exploding cars just add a bit more of a team kill incentive, where it feels like you can break freely from the front, but once they're gone, and you have to take straight gunfights, put trophies down, because the utility barrage on these open hills is absolutely punishing. And now we rotate over to the next hill, same story again, Texas Esports win the opening break off, win the rotation, have spawns locked in. Zep is the only player being proactive alongside Deucer, creating an awkward claw, and the isolated gunfight's perfect for Wichita. They open up beautifully. Zep's now blocking the backside. A perfect flip now, and Texas have to try and get back inside.
I was going to say, that's a textbook break. If you are Wichita State, calm, cool, and collected. As Texas State will try to break for the back 25 seconds. This is more of stopping the bleeding than anything else. Maybe want to try and put a body in for a contestation, but Zep going to play the statue heady to his advantage. So as he cleans up house in Wichita State, the Shockers continue to glide themselves forward. They can break out of this P4 spawn. They can start trying to maybe push their way over towards P2, but more importantly, try to get top control here over P1. It's going to be the most important spot to be.
One thing I noticed as well from Texas is that Ferg and Doa are pretty much glued together in every instance when it comes to the respawns and even comes to the initial break off on a new strategy. They really love to see, I think in terms of actually a tandem play style, one player simply absorbs all the pressure, the other player cleans up afterwards, and it's just how Texas Esports have at least chained these last 4 hills. But again, with Wichita, Exotic has finally opened up here. Beautiful sequence there of kills. And now at this point, again, they're starting to prioritize P1 as a money hill. And you have to, again, once you're down a deficit. In the next set of rotations, you see a drastic change in fighting for spawns, but more scaling away from the deficit, Alex.
As we always say on Vault, have to look to the play clock as we get further and further towards the ending of this map. 3:12 on the clock, still plenty of time to play around with. It slowly can start to evaporate, and once you know it, all of a sudden it's gone. You're playing for, maybe 210, 215 at the end instead of the whole 250. Ferg trying to make his way over towards the palm inside. Not able to walk away with the gunfight, and Kaiser over the top helps out his weakened teammate. And as Wichita State will now try to push their way forward, DOA up top. That's a hip fire shot as he tries to mantle up. As you go 2 for 2 and you try to make your way forward, Spawn still flipping in a weird way. Wichita State has control for now. How long will it last, though, as Texas makes the push?
He's made a very impressive effort here. Deuce's being stuck in hill, Kaiser's rotate around the back, and the second blocker is Exotic. This is actually a set play from Wichita to try and ensure time, and it's perfectly executed. Texas State Esports' only break attempt is through the middle of the map. Again, it's high octane. The heat map is just a little bit too intense in terms of making sure the trades are exacted, and they have the remaining player left for the 1v1. And systematically, again, it's a bowling ping strategy now for Wichita. They're running directly into Texas State Esports. They've woken up. They're feeling warm, feeling fantastic, and looking out at this beautiful read of the spawns. They control the north side, they can get this kill, but looking again at just where they need to rotate, it's going to be a tough break attempt now to get over to the north side of the map. That's where Sploden now is making a proactive play.
Beautiful double from Ferg. Ferg doesn't realize there's somebody out towards Palm, so unfortunately not able to capitalize on that last 5 seconds, but really just trying to break him out, give yourselves positioning towards the north side of the map, and now you should have P3 kind of locked down. Kaiser weakened up, spotted out, tagged up by a tactical as well. So even though you find 2, you haven't done enough just yet to give yourselves full control of that north side. Backside of P4 going to be fallen. And as DOA looks for 1 by statue, you have a few more players starting to corral themselves. But Wichita State, they commit to what they wanted. They got the break for the spawns. They'll have the left side of the map, and now they can push back over towards P3. Maybe try to get Texas State in a contest spot, or just try to flood them all the way back out towards that back ammo side.
And Texas State Esports as well haven't been so heavy-handed on the nades so far. They've actually been more or less getting stuns for information, then getting 2 barrels against 1, creating these isolations and perfect segments on the map where it feels more open. But Wichita at this point now start to see the win conditions for themselves. Stick 3 nades on the point, shoot trophy systems, and boom, it's an immediate break. And that's where Texas State Esports now is really struggling to adjust. You see from the sprints and the actual breakoffs from when they spawn up how awkward and staggered they are. It's a perfect line across the map, but Astonish has got lots of pressure here to block this spawn. And again, isolate the 1v1s to control. That's where they can start getting initial, and this is still just a beautiful example of getting in 2 kills, hill popping up, and your teammates spawning right on top of you.
Well, here's the thing, right? Last time they tried to opt for the push through the north side of the map, they tried to take bottom art and then push around the back and spawn. This time, they spawn pool, they recognized, hey, they're playing top P3 hard. We can just hit straight through the bottom of pool and then get P4 spawn. So that was pretty from Texas State. Actually really loved the play call there. Not sure exactly who it was who made the call, but I know Astonish was the man who was on the rotation. So hill time still in full favor for P4 at the moment in Texas State. As Deucer tries to push his way in towards the site, hipfire shots are good, at least for a help over the top. Tag team from Zep in, 20-point deficit, but now now trying to claw their way back. Scrap time could be huge here for either one of these teams. Still 2 minutes and 10 seconds to play, but once again, very dangerous as we get towards the end of this hard point.
Wichita as well have actually held on to their utility belt. I'm seeing 4 nades across the board from the 4 players that are alive. And it's just interesting to see because Texas State are really throwing stuns immediately. You see right here for information purposes and to stall the push. And it works so well in controlling the map. You can just see how much confidence they have here in the middle. And the freedom again for Splody just to spread out to the extremities of the map and create these awkward flanks. But Wichita State, maybe they start throwing the nades as well. It creates perpendicular sort of opportunities. They really haven't explored the map truly yet. Despite it being so close, there's such a huge margin for them to win just from changing one simple adjustment.
Great time for slides. Doesn't realize there's one involved, but gets away with his life. Slide challenge back, quiet for the moment. Texas State will hold down the middle of the map. Need to be wary of the push coming from Exotic and another teammate trying to pinch up towards Top Cat. In from behind. Shots good from Splody. Pistol in. Double for him. 3-2 they go. Texas State, man advantage. Deucer forced to drop back out towards poolside, in towards P2. They have the spawns for new, but with 15 seconds left, this is a lot of critical time for Texas State to be able to accrue from themselves. And if they're not careful, once again, Astonish could slip all the way through the side of through the side of Palms. You might be looking at yourself, bad in for P2. Wild spawn out from Splody. I don't know how he got back there in ammo.
I mean, Texas State put so much pressure on that scrap time, they completely forgot about the rotation, and Wichita need to absorb this. There's no one actually blocking the hill. Now we see Exotic jump in there for himself with an AR, and look at what Zep needs to do in this situation. Apply pressure, keep the spawn super deep for Texas State. They want to ensure a time. They want to ensure that there's going to be no possible encounters on this hill, but they haven't blocked deep enough in the back. And look at this counter pressure from both sides. It's a perfect pinch. 37 seconds up for grabs. Texas State can cross 200 points. Wichita completely fumbled the bag.
I know they're not hard blocking in the back, and yes, Wichita State dropped the body there. Texas State just committed to the back end spawns. I don't know if I love the play from Zep. That's what caused it to be chaotic in the first place, just because he got pushed up a little too far and his teammate died in the back end. So Texas State did get those close spawns. They'll spawn back there once again, and you can see the play call already. Nobody really wants to hit old. Everybody going to be focused on that P3 rotation yet again. They want top arc control, and that's exactly what they'll do. So as we hit the rotation, Splody will spot one out. Kaiser known in the back end over by P4. Good shots in. Headshot will take him off in the rip. Zep tries to snap over, won't be able to get it. So they go 1 for 1. It's a tie game, 188 as we enter into P3. 2 hills left in this second set of rotations. It's getting close for each of these teams.
And a battle for the back as well between Doa and Zep. And this is controlling again the close spawns. Wichita have added more pressure through the mid, and this is creating an overload now. The Texas State cannot take fights in the middle portion of the map, forces Doa out of position, and creates this awkward paradigm. Needs to fight for control, needs to get time. Wichita is starting to really impress us now in terms of actually making really awkward and tough decisions to be made for Texas State Esports. But listen, it was only a 1-point margin. Now Texas State starts to get on the hill. There's no trophies down at all, Alex, so it's a real barrage of utility being thrown in their face. Doa's locked in now outside of Art, and it now is just going to be a huge battle for the front.
Well, this is interesting, too, because Wichita State, they don't have an opportunity to set up a play down through the bottom of the pool, so it's just going to be a straight bang out over towards Art. Zep somehow slides all his way through to the bottom. So if he can get across here, which he can't, could have been a thorn on the backside of Texas State. This time, though, they're going to be there. Astonish the first one in. Kaiser looking to push his way forward. It's a good double hit. Now on Statue, they have another player they can try to find. Splody just plays his life. He gets in the backside of Art, and this could be a huge contention. He's not going to expect it out the side door, but Kaiser ready for it. 217, 206, 50 seconds on the hill. Texas State can win it here. Ferg in the back end needs to be careful. He's got a few players pushing, and inside of the hill, it's white for the contest.
Oh, 1v1 for Hill. Still pressure being applied, and the spawns are still good for Texas State. Oh, Splody with an impactful play without even realizing it. Look at all this pressure on the outside, Alex. It's gorgeous. Wichita is still spawning pretty much in the middle of the map, right near pool. And in terms of the head-to-head, Zep has to play his life in this situation. There's no possible opportunity here. A stud in his pocket. Great. Can you stall it? Can you use it in time? He's just got the gun up. He wants to make sure he finds the kills because the pressure is just way too much. Texas, though, for some strange reason, aren't breaking into the point. They're allowing pressure to really break through, and it's Zep. 38, 22 kills near the final portions of this game.
5 in a row for him as well. Dangerously close to streaks, will wisely back off the head glitch challenge. Rewraps himself towards the right-hand side. They go 1 for 1 in middle map. It's 2 for 2 now. Texas State still here. In towards the point, though. Wichita State will opt to jump down. Zep's going to push up the map. They're not ready for him inside of you. Second player coming off a spawn will challenge out towards Art. Needs to go up B Street, but will wrap back over towards you. I don't know if I like the gunfight, but they don't allow him to get the streak. So Hellstorm not accrued. 9 seconds left for the win. Texas State breaks back in.
Oh, one last real ditch attempt here. Wichita State 9 points away from converting. 3 players from Texas State stacked inside the hill. 1 player roaming an outside. That's Splody. Can he read the other lurker as well in Exotic? The push in is almost perfect, but they've left the hill white. One last wave of gunfights, and then they have got full insurance, but this is an awkward break. Wichita found their way from balcony.
Astonish in for 3, potentially no. Zep wins the 1v1. 9 seconds left for the win. Splody around the right side. Semtex will connect. 4 seconds. Nobody close. Have to just sprint on into the pre-aims from Wichita State. They won't be able to get there. Close map 1. Wichita State, the favorite coming into this best of 5 series, will be able to take that first step in the right direction. They go up 1-0. Texas State, though, plenty of opportunities to capitalize on that game, and they just fell short.
It was a very technical hard point for Volt, and I must say, in terms of actual proactivity, Zep was the player, at least for Wichita, that was taking most of the pressure head on. You know, a total of 68 engagements is astounding for an opening map, and just to add a little feather in the cap as well, they were down for the majority of it. Texas State had at least a small margin of control. We go back to the 193-194 deficit in the scoreline. The numbers itself, though, if you really want to accelerate it, I think Zep went 20-5 in the final closing embers, and we just have one last little look in terms of how the line graph adapts throughout the series. Again, it's infamously spotted here in the first set. The P2 to P3 line we saw similar to the last series. It's the biggest crossing junction and a very consistent theme, but it always evens out again once we go back to the P1, 2, and 3. Teams are sharing time. The P4 is where you really start to escalate away, and that's where I think we did see Wichita absorb so much pressure, and it just made it a very interesting contest from top to bottom.
I'll say this, because, I mean, we could talk about the P4 here for a second, because that P3, P4 rotation obviously is what gave Wichita State that bulk of a majority of points at the end there. That kind of gave them that buffer room to play in through P1 and have to worry about kind of just foot racing back to it over and over again with solo chows. I think the biggest single play that was made, though, and maybe Texas State's biggest misstep, was playing too heavy in towards the front and by statue in the cars of P4 there by bottom art. Because Splody had the contestation for the second player, and instead of playing in the backside of bottom art and trying to just, play his life, force Wichita State to have to take that extra 10 seconds to be able to go chase him out. He just kind of reached out towards the left side street, overheated, and then got killed over by Palm. So that play specifically kind of lost them the back spawns. It lost them a lot of map presence, and then they had to fight from the front again, which just ended up being their Achilles heel. So it goes back to the conversation we started and had right before the beginning of the game starting, right? It's the fact that every individual play is very important, and the individual play there from Splody might not have been the smartest, and it cost them a lot of map positioning, and that ended up ultimately losing them the game. It obviously was a multitude of different factors that led to them losing the game, but that was a big contributing factor towards the end. And it's not just hit out, hit out, hit out. You can't bang out every gunfight. You have to play smart sometimes. Just a miscalculation there from Splody.
And it's one of the awkward situations as well, where Splody would have benefited from dying in that situation tenfold more than playing his life. And it's just players in game reading that situation at face value. It just doesn't make any sense at all. Why should I die here? Yep. I'm alive. I can then set up the team for another break attempt. Volt has just got really sensitive spawn points and blockers. It feels like, again, where you have to re-aggress to a new position and over-adjust to compensate for a brand new attempt to get a hill break. You're giving your team a really bad spawn point, and at the same time as well, if you're not deep blocking too, you're going to give your enemies the closest possible spawns. And it's just P3 and P4 in a nutshell, and why P4 was such a huge scale up.
Yeah, I agree. Look, Wichita State, from start to finish, they did feel very comfortable on the map, and I think that, for the most part, has been a very good theme for the Shockers. And it leads back to last season and what we saw towards the end of the year. They were a team that was in contention for being an upset, being that kind of dark horse to the playoffs where everybody thought Oklahoma Christian, Fisher, they were going to be your top 2 teams, and ultimately they pretty much were. Wichita State kind of slipped their name into the ring a bit, and they were like, hey, we have an opportunity to really surprise a lot of people. There were some matches that didn't go their way, maybe a forfeit or 2, I don't know, something in there. But there were moments where the Shockers roster really did feel like it had taken that next big leap. And when you have guys like Kaiser and Exotic on the roster, but you have Zep and Deucer being able to supplement them now, this team does feel genuinely a bit different than it did last year. And I think that's good, going in the right direction. But Texas State, I don't want to count them out either, because this is, again, another team, although they might be ranked 17th in the overall community rankings. Look, the community, you guys are right most of the time. Some of you guys are smart. Other of you, I've seen some of your top 25 picks. They're picks. you might not be watching many of the
Do you know what,
matches,
Alex?
but you
I got a
definitely
great
have made
counter
picks
argument
before.
to this. I love media predictions, community predictions, because if teams prove them wrong or prove them right, it's just that extra little bit of sugar that just makes you feel so much better at the end. You know, it's just, it's not final, but it is a nice, you know, like, in the paper you read it, oh, we predict this team to finish in this position by the end of the season. Might not be the case. And at that point, you're like, well, we actually learned something all as a community and as a collective. And it just makes such a beautiful storyline and a great cadence now to the Protocol S&D, where we actually do have, you know, again, like you mentioned, John Exotic on Wichita State, an S&D specialist for many years, and definitely the spearhead for this team, at least now to try and improve from their last season results.
Protocol, Search and Destroy. Oh, man. Name a quintessential map where, well, I guess every map is kind of like this. You pick a site, you
Embassy,
stick to it,
Search
and you just
Destroy.
run
There
it
you go.
down. Yeah, Embassy, Search and Destroy. Mercado, Search and Destroy. Ooh, let's go Vault, Search and Destroy for a little bit of fun. How about then we bring it back to a, what's the map? Oh, Skyline, Search and Destroy for a little bit of fun. You see a theme here that's growing, not just in this game, but maps that have been previous as well. Last year, I think S&D was in a decent spot. I think some of the maps were large enough to be able to make some key plays. I also think that it was a little rough though, because at times it did feel very slow, especially, you know, you throw in a little invasion control, or excuse me, an invasion search and destroy. So it's like, it's fun, but you know, sometimes you like watching bang outs, and that's the dichotomy of the game, right? It's there's viewer enjoyment in everything. Like a Hacienda is going to give you a little bit more like, hey, he made the right play there, or this team made the right call on a rotation, or, you know, you're able to lock down spawns a bit better. In this game, it's like, okay, well, hey, we'll just hit this site and just hope it works for the best. Like, we're just going to drop down either the vault or the elevator and hope that we get to the A site first. It's not very enthralling Call of Duty, but it definitely is just hold your left trigger down and hope that you get there first. So, excuse me, left stick. Zep going to be the one to watch over his teammates as they try to fly down. It's a solo challenge into the bottom of the elevator shaft, and you get the P2 platform rip off. So DOA first off the board. Zep walks away with the first blood, and now slowly he's just going to have to try and fly up the elevator shaft because he knows that he should not be in that position. You have the bomb, brother. Don't drop it down there.
The opening was really interesting from Wichita. No nades connected, no stuns connected from either team. Information was lackluster, just an overchallenge, and a pixel peak is all that it took for the first blood to be drawn. But simply put now, if you're looking at a 3v3 situation, this is way too spread out. We're seeing isolated 1v1s across the map, and it finally sort of equalizes now in a position where Wichita can watch over B comfortably, and Splody is stuck in a rock and a hard place with Bomb, calling teammate to support as well for a rotation, and this is now where you start to enter the question mark period, Alex. Where are they on the map, and how do we adjust as Wichita?
They want to drop down, and that much is obvious. You're going to have one sliding in from the spiral side. I think Splody gets good timing. Shoots a bit prematurely there, but he forces them to back off. Now his teammate's going to be out in no man, so you're creating an artificial pinch here from two different directions. And now as Splody tries to get the bomb down, he loses the 1v1 out by no man. Slide back, challenge, in towards the spiral staircase is good, but he gets chased down from the no man side. So Wichita State, they play the trade battle. They make it stick thin. They got the first blood, and that's pretty much all you need on a map like Protocol.
And it's a break off again that was sort of oriented again from Zep, just taking a very, very gambly position. I mean, either way, it's 50-50, whether you look at it or not. One slide counts to one camera, and your red dot is on their head from the multiplier. And it really just was a wonderful opening. But I'm really questioning the nade uses and utility uses early on. I think we're seeing both teams just spend a little bit too much early. Definitely worth saving some for the remainder of the 2v2s and 3v3s, because we got a lot of them given the head-to-head prowess of these two teams. But an opening from Zep again, continuing his form from the previous map. He's just adding now to a little bit more of a pacing feel for the team. He definitely drives the conductor. He is the train. But opening up now, Exotic gets information early on. Discipline has been dropped for a second. Has info on 3, and this is where the trades start to equalize.
Yeah, you spotted one out by no man's. You thought you had the good timing on the drop down. You started to make the shots connect. Unfortunately, slip and slide with the Omni movement around the corner allows them to play their lives. Still Deucer and Zep, though. Odd man's out here, and Exotic will walk away with 1. So in a 2 versus 2, you got plenty of time to work with. Not exactly where you want to bring the bomb, and that's just, I mean, that's just the worst timing. That's like scrapping a hard point. That's just bad timing.
Never fair. Never fair. Never equally unjust. 40 seconds left on the time. Bomb, though, has been dropped down. And Zep has to be ultra silent in this situation. Texas State going for reclears down in bunker. Plenty of room to work with here. Has a nade as well, in terms of stalling the lanes and keeping himself free from any contact. But again, lots of hesitation here. Too much panic. We're starting to see where Texas State are regressing. Zep, though, has got a lovely angle. And just again, it's always enough now for a readjustment. Is the commitment to the water bomb a little bit too much? And a 1v1, he makes it a bit fairer.
Ooh, bad timing though. Should get spotted down the spiral staircase. If Zep turns around, oh, Explodey actually thinks he's going over towards B, but he can't plant the bomb. I mean, really, that was only Zep's contention there, was to try and turn around and maybe get the 1v1 there, but I like the play. Run away, don't even let them get to the bomb. That's just good Call of Duty. That's smart.
It is,
like
and there's only two outcomes to
brains.
that. He runs away and checks for the bomb, or he spotted him and runs away because he doesn't need the 1v1. And that's just one of the openings as which as well, where the clock is being played perfectly. And I'm really impressed. But Texas State, again, have equalized. A very impressive round from a mistake from Exotic. Opening up this one now. Nades are thrown towards mid, and it's more of an aggressive hit. Underground, try and get this post plant set up very early.
Explodey gonna drop straight in. They don't realize that Deucer's flying all the way up the map. Sorry, Exotic. As he finds the first blood there, he gets the better of the timing this time through on that bottom hit towards the A side. However, the bomb will go down, so a 45-second restriction on him. Exotic pushes his way forward. Gun by Ferg. Now it's a 3 versus 3. Not great timing as Exotic flies in.
Wichita State as well on the outside here. 30 seconds left to play with, and Texas State are really bunkered up together now. 2 barrels trailed on the same spot, and it's a wonderful slide. This is how you really play around your numbers well. Simple head glitches on the computers just creates an awkward time. A nade for insurance. He slides on in a really awkward situation. The trade was always going to be capitalized. A double swing from the team, and a challenging pixel peak that just was not to be accomplished. Texas State, again, from this setup, I like what they did from the very start here, Alex. Dumped all their marbles straight into bunker, tried to get a post plant early on, and set up with trophies. It's just using utility well, but again, winning the foot race, we see it so common.
Back to the offense for Wichita State. Things have slowed down a bit from the early rounds. There's been a few chaotic moments. Obviously giving up that A site. Not what you want to do on defense. He's going to be tossed over. Try to weaken or maybe slow down the push from a Wichita State player on the defense. As Ferg gets down low. Inside. I don't think they realize that somebody's playing over by the back heli. Somebody's just laying down, but they don't realize that head glitch is also being played. There it is. Pop up. SMG player out towards heli. Gets one, but it is Exotic who was able to make the wrap all the way back through. 2 versus 3. Wichita State down, but they have the bomb in their possession. Should be able to get it down on B. Going to be a hard retake here, or rather a hard hold for Wichita State. The retake should be decently easy for Texas State as long as they get good time.
Exotic is very nervous in the situation as well. Texas State have set up pretty much perfectly from a gamble. One player in turret was not stun checked as well. Creates now at least a really bad timing. And Astonish, lovely pathing from Exotic. And a 2v1 has to wrap around in a very, very delicate manner. But Texas State, they're like bloodhounds. They just rush and they try and isolate the kills. Man advantage was established early on, but I really must say, John, Exotic, a lovely effort to try and equalize some situations where we do see Texas State sit together as a 3. The line was there, but the timing, simply not.
Yeah, I mean, if he wins this 1v against DOA, I mean, that's probably a 1v1 that wins the round. At that point, you just play timing. You can just check the bomb from up top real quick. You're already sliding through. You know that you're probably going to get the best timing on the opposite player. So, hey, you're looking pretty after it, but regardless, I mean, that's just kind of the luck of the draw when you get over towards A, or excuse me, when you get over towards B, somebody's just playing the back heli. You're not able to check that completely, and you get caught off guard. So, first blood to Texas State. Once again, they made a habit out of it here inside of map 2. Stun check over the top. Map 1, if you're just joining us, was decently close, but Exotic will get down inside the bottom of A site. He's made a habit of this, just as Texas State made a habit of those first bloods, but this time he's going to realize, hey, they're trying to play this over towards B. Exotic will open up with 1, though. First blood goes the way of Wichita State. This should be a round win, 2 versus 4.
And he's completely diced up the map as well. They have to hunt Exotic in this situation. He gets the 3rd. Okay, he's on for an ace. Slow down, Ferg.
Towards top. Look back out towards Exotic. Looks like he's just going to stall himself out for just a moment, have the knife out. He's like, all right, well, I mean, I'm either going to get hit from behind or get hit from the front. So, I mean, which one's better? You put yourself in that position and you tell me.
Exactly. I mean, as a player, you sort of load up the round in your mind before it even starts, especially when you're trying to 3D visualize, you know, your map awareness to a high level. And that's a round where I think Texas State had this beautiful plan orchestrated, a 10-second call at max. And John Exotic just gets 2 of them. And then at that point, your brain just deflates. And there's no real sort of resurrecting any sort of morale. When you're 1v4, you're stuck in ammo. It feels like the end of the world. But this time around, Wichita State on the attacking side commit through ammo, and Texas State spread out more evenly. They want to get picks at long range, similar to what Zep did in round 1.
DOA forced to back off up the spiral staircase. They'll chase forward just to get some map position, but they won't go all the way up. So that'll give them the free A site. They got 3 bodies down there. Bomb will go down 45 seconds, but first blood goes to Texas State. Exotic watching the spiral staircase, knows that one's going to be pushing here in just a moment. Gets a bit aggressive there. Timing could have been poor, but DOA falls. 2 versus 3 now as they retake the site from the front. Kaiser going to be trying to find some shots in. Trade should be there, but Exotic falls. So now Splodey's left alive, and you have a 1 versus 3 if you are Exotic flying in from the back end. They don't recognize that you're out towards No Man's. First gunfight good. Tries to go for the second, but up top, the long-range AR shots are going to be in as Splodey comes for the defuse as well. That's just a nice retake from Texas State being down lives. Hate to see it if you're a Wichita State fan.
Yeah, absolutely. But in terms of actually how the round progressed, Texas State, I have to say the break-off was fantastic. They actually spread the lanes a little bit further than their previous break-off. They also made sure, again, they prioritized the AR. They had the stun out just in case one was pushing down bottom bunker this time around rather than have the gun up. I feel like, again, they're just starting to optimize a little bit more that they're in control of how far back they want their opponent to be. Especially given the side, especially given the positioning, it makes a little bit more sense to just start to see players slowly scale into the game, and Splodey's been one that from the very start has been on tip-top form. Now, the new break-off, 2 pairings for Texas State Esports, and Wichita go for an overload on the north side of the map.
They're spotted down below. They're just going to stack up and play high-lows. I mean, sure, that's a strategy that maybe some players would use, not somebody that's playing at the top level, but hey, I mean, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you look kind of stupid. But bomb goes down, 1v4, Kaiser across the map, Splodey just looking on the chase, and I mean, Kaiser, there's a wonderful ocean of water out to your right-hand side. Might want to just jump off it.
Yeah, this again, feels like now in the last 3 rounds, with 2 of which situations where Wichita, you know, John Exotic got 3 players in a row. The last one there was sort of left question, where did all my teammates go? Same for this one as well. A bold high-low strategy was sort of like, you know, the tip of the iceberg for that sort of set play. They were gambling on a heavy stack through elevator, and it just was one simple slide cancel off of bunker and a simple look at the camera. It really is just one of the more gut-wrenching plays. And now, for match point, or should we say, sorry, map point, Texas State 5-2 up, this time Wichita on the attacking side, and they're going to float it towards A, but without a set nade or a stun. They get Splodey's info already.
Realistically, I mean, if Splodey wanted to, he could have just hit straight up the elevator and he would have been fine. Probably could have got behind them and set up this pinch even faster, but Deucer timing, gonna be good. Double kill goes to Wichita State. 2 bodies drop immediately for Texas. So as you're looking forward, Splodey gonna finally push his way up. I mean, this is kind of like your only play that you're able to make here. You're trying to at least find 1 consolation kill, maybe get away for something. You should be able to spot one out towards P2, and you will. Unfortunately, though, for the Wichita State player, he's gonna get dropped in from below. So 30 seconds left. Playing inside of P3, you got a helicopter player out on an island, and you're trying to find anything you can right now. You just can't find a single body, and, well, yeah, there's just 2 players stacked up in the back end, so they don't make any noise. They don't let themselves be seen, and once you let up the B-bomb site and somebody takes back flak gun, it's almost impossible to retake the site.
Just perfect patient play from Wichita. And as well, we're starting to see a key theme here of the rounds, especially in the attacking side. Man advantage, then post-plant. Rather than Texas State opting again for massive man advantage, post-plant if needed. Hunting down the kills, and player awareness and map knowledge is always going to be quite a key indicator for how they're converting. Although a lot of reliance again on Splodey and Fergs being around, so Wichita State's win condition here is quite simple. Splodey or Ferg are in the round, you get rid of them 2. Kind of feels like you've got a good thumb on the game.
Now Exotic's just going to push straight through. Astonish down below. Texas State go back to what worked for them a couple rounds previous. They will just take full control of that bottom A site. First one, Deucer dead. Exotic gets a trade, but how much will it be worth? Because you got all 3 bodies now stacked up around the site. You just can't get caught on an unfortunate timing from somewhere. Out towards no man's land. Zep is there. looking for information as everybody else tries to corral around the point. You've got 2 players trying to break it from no man's, 1 in the spiral. Splody looking at an angle, nobody's coming from. Ferg and watch on the right-hand side. He's at 20 HP, has to throw a trophy. Here comes the push in. Exotic around the right side. Zepp will find the first. 1 versus 1. The trades come through Splody there. Now it's a 1 versus 2 from Exotic. He's able to make the first gunfight there. Reloads. Challenge from Splody. Back up to 100 HP, and that'll end the round and end the game. Search and Destroy goes the way of Texas State, and we're tied up at 1 apiece.
A beautiful round and a beautiful finish. Splody, fantastic work and a wonderful injection of confidence back into the team after a very close and bitter, sad hard point. I must say, in terms of actually the pick for protocol, I'm understanding now exactly where the sort of mistakes might be made from Wichita. I feel like getting a high-low strategy in round number 8, wrong time to use it. Definitely more of a round 10, round 11 kind of play. If they're really banking on a static or, you know, a one-lane push from Texas State, it is high risk. There was no reward in the end. And I think in terms of actually kind of where you're seeing the set plays go, it makes a lot of sense. And when you look back on how the rounds went, I'd say a good 5 rounds of them. Again, eliminations, 2 defuses, and 1 of which was on the time. I must say, in terms of Texas State Esports, they had a lot more variety in terms of how the rounds were done. Wichita State, again, relied heavily on eliminations.
Win your gunfights, win your rounds. Texas State, pretty stuff. Double up, have fun. And that's pretty much all they did for the entirety of protocol, and that's really all the map asks of you. You don't have to think too hard about the plays that you're making. You just got to make sure that you don't find somebody out on an island, and yeah, that's Search and Destroy in the year of 2025 in Call of Duty Black Ops 6. So if you enjoyed that, hopefully you're going to enjoy the rest of this year because it is a blast. Maybe not to watch, maybe not to play, but it's a blast.
Huge fan as well in terms of actually how the rounds played out. Maybe one last move before we go anyway is going to be that every single round was won in the first blood. So Alex, I suppose silver linings play quite a nice little detail there.
They absolutely do. Well, we'll step aside. When we come back, we've got map 3 in a control to see who will take control of the series. Wichita State lose the Search and Destroy. Texas State look to recapitalize in a respawn. Back in a bit. It's either A, you go into A, and you kind of hit that out straight up. The other option is maybe hit over towards pool and try to send a few bodies there if you're on the offensive side. The other one is just kind of dolphin diving straight into the vault and then getting over to B. Unfortunately for Wichita State here, they're already down to 16 lives. We've played a bit long here thus far, but regardless, you can see just how much map presence that Texas State has. They've pushed it all the way into the spawn. They're spawning them in the top right quadrant of the minimap. You're pretty much looking at a done and dusted GG round. They've got 1 tick of progress on A, and Exotic's kind of lost the sauce right now.
And Astonish is dealing with all the pressure head on here, and fantastic for holding his life too. It's just allowing the remaining players in Texas State just to freely explore the map, but at the same time set up an infamous trap. We saw it just at the start as we flew into the map, and we are now starting to see Wichita State only now get some presence over towards A, albeit at a 10 life deficit. Again, this is why the traps are so deadly on Vault. You feel like in a moment you're stuck in a blender for 2 to 3 waves, and your life count depletes massively. In Texas State's strategy is pretty clear cut from the start on the defensive rounds, window opening gunfights in mid, and then they start to call the players on the outer extremities to push and create this awkward hold in their own spawn.
Tongue-in-cheek, bog standard defense on Vault Control, folks. If you haven't seen it this year, not missing much. Anything that you just saw from that first round right there with the defense being able to come out on top of it. That's what you're going to see pretty much every single time. Some teams will be able to make those offensive stick better than not, but especially for the first round in a control series. Yeah, so we'll go to a defense here for Wichita State. We'll see if they can do the same. Interested to see what Texas State do here off the break, though. As I mentioned beforehand, there's not a lot that you're able to do, but if you can catch another team off guard and they pick the wrong kind of strategy or setup to try and maybe corral or contain at the A site, and you break out over towards B, it can be a bit of a different story. So Ferg will be the first one to push in towards the middle. Nade's going to hit out, and they're going to strike straight into the vault. That's what we were talking about beforehand. One goes out towards B Street. You open everything up, and now you have to look behind you, because here comes the hit through the double doors of middle. Exotic, going to be the first one to chow up. You're going to have one pushing through the vault as well. The gunfights go Wichita State's way, at least in a 2-to-1 fashion, but you have teammates here still for Texas State flying through the vault. It's a 2 versus 1 on the site. Kaiser left alive with the spawns close to bottom art.
The opening round for Texas State Esports benefited greatly. They had trophies straight away off spawn, disabling any sort of car explosions on B, allowing a little tick of progression. But again, they're just flipping between strategies at this point because of the spawns. They haven't really controlled the upper echelons of the map, and they are still allowing Wichita State to freely roam, which is creating a lot of tension and a lot of perplexity in terms of where they should trust their system. It's not really fully in effect, and it is creating a large gap now, where we do see Splody float around the mid, but again, there's not much comms and not much support, so the team now is forced to play their lives early on with 2/3 of the way on A.
Keep one player on. You got deep spawn in from Astonish in the back end. 2 players trying to place through top cat. And as Exotic gets to the spawn side, you're just going to try and stay behind the pillars here, capture that A zone, add an extra minute onto the clock, and now you have 3 ticks compared to the one that Wichita State had in their opening offense. So looking good, even if this does go to what we would consider a standard round 5 here on Vault Control. Texas State just looking to try and break out over towards P2. They're going to get those close spawns top right as well. So full map spread at the moment. Deucer on 4 in a row should be traded out here momentarily, and absolutely will be.
And we slow it down for a second here, we can just see Texas State start to readjust here, and thankfully they're slowing things down in a really good fashion. One of the big critiques was just how fast they can play, their tempo. It might cost them again in terms of spawn control, or even understanding where they need to just have their guns up. But they're doing really well to even aggress on the north side of the map. They've got 2 players floated towards B, and given Splodey's ability, it just makes it so convincing to get that first third on the board.
And they put too much pressure towards top art. They had Zep up there, and once they lost that power position, it was all downhill from there. The floodgates open. Texas State flew forward, and Splodey can do it all himself. 2 ticks of progress now on B. Kaiser has to push his way forward. They're going to push out towards the right side. They've got full palms control. Nobody in middle map. Wichita State spawning all the way deep. 6 lives remaining, and this should be the final call. If they can get a little bit further forward, they should be able to stack 2 to 3 bodies on the point, and it's going to be GG's on the round. As now Splodey once again will play from a different angle and decide to push through the spawn. Wichita State absolutely manhandled in round 2.
And Texas could have played it safe as well. I saw a full utility belt on everyone inside the point. Splodey just did all the work for them. And this is what I'm talking about, Alex. The attacking rounds are so key on the Vault. And this is an example of just what a team can do if they get the right amount of kills, but also make sure, again, that the mid lurker is alive and playing his life well. I mean, in terms of what we saw there again, when it went to 10-5 and the pressure was still being applied from outer art, they just knew at this point, okay, we can play TDM. We have the room to do so. And it just allows Splodey as well, from his teammates setting up the crossfire onside the point, to not be identified. It was a beautiful trap. 2-0 start for Texas State Esports. What can we say other than simply gorgeous?
This is in potential categorization for one of the fastest 3-0s of a control I've seen, unless Wichita State can make a good offensive break here. Now, at least for those first 3 kills, they will do just that. So Splodey, the last alive. Nade's going to go out towards the spawn side. Should be well placed from Exotic and forces Splodey to have to either push through the vault. But there's a player that's playing on an island, and that's Kaiser, laying down on the bottom side of the catwalk. Needs to push to their spawn. I think they recognize that there was a weird spawn out there. And that's absolutely the call there. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't win the gunfight. DOA will stay alive. And now as they try to wrap back, it's a 1 life now, make it 2 advantage for Texas State. And they can start pushing into the spawn side. They're going to spawn them up by ammo and gold. And as DOA can just play this over by P2. We know how hard of a gunfight it can be at times for teams trying to break onto P2 in the hard points. Just imagine trying to come out of your spawn and not knowing exactly where DOA is. And guess what? It's a DoorDash to your spawn. Dead on arrival.
They've made a complete meal of it here, Wichita State. They're not pressing in one unit. They're actually trying now to aggress and create this bodyguard style setup where they can force 3 players through 1 choke point. But look at the way Texas is set up on this one. They're now making sure they're funneling through the north side of the map. Once Wichita realizes there's no pressure on the south side, they have the lane completely open, Alex. And what Texas is now trying to at least enforce is making sure Ferg is alive. Because DOA, again, is absorbing all the pressure. Ferg is the person that can then fill the gaps. He can rotate inside. Once he's gone on the north side of the map, now we can see at least a heads-up play being made, and Kaiser's the one to do so.
I was hoping for a stack there, but they at least got the A zone captured. So that's the first kind of domino that they need. Unfortunately, as soon as they capture A, they're all back to the respawn block. So the only player that can really make any sort of movement on the map at the moment is Deucer. And as he falls, and Kaiser in the spawn side will also meet an untimely demise, you've got DOA pushing over towards FOMS, and it's just everybody dying once again. So with 8 lives remaining and Texas State all the way pushed up the map, we can just start playing the music already. Let's talk about hot for map 4.
Yeah, absolutely. This map's done and dusted. Wichita State were in here for 10 minutes, and then they've gotten up now, and it's a toilet break soon, so good news. I must say, though, in terms of what have Texas State done to actually do so well, 3 consistent spawn traps. I mean, no chance to break through. The open break off from Wichita was fantastic to get mid control, but Texas State had lurkers just around mid, alive still. We're not identified, and it's just the patterns now which emerge here in the final moments. Splodey has woken up here, does Splodey things in Splodey fashion. 4-15 is a devastating life deficit.
One more push. Here we go. Exotic out of the vault on 4 in a row. Has teammates there for the help. They're going to double stack it. Still technically not over just yet. You got 2 bodies there. I mean, you're going to need everybody on the point. Top art And, I mean, it basically feels like Exotic lasts alive here with his teammate on the point, but they've got 2 kills. You have to turn back around. There's one coming through middle map. They're both coming off of Art now, and that's going to be it. Ferg's last 2 kills come in. We try to make it close. We try to make it seem like it was close. It wasn't. But from start to finish, I mean, Texas State just play that perfect. If I'm Tactic right now, watching on for my alma mater, old alumni school, I'm feeling pretty damn good about it right now.
As you should.
Shout out Tactic. Love the boy.
I must say for this map,
he's a man now. He's graduated and everything. Like, he's probably older than me, but I still love him.
I mean, that's just a little relationship there which can be explored potentially down the line. Alex, if you really are feeling, you know, Alex kind of ways.
Look, I'm a man of the people, man of the players. But there's somebody that probably doesn't like me saying that right now. So I'm going to stop talking.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're identified again. You're self-aware, and you're just starting to realize now the potential consequences. I think if we were to explore the map, though, in the final round, I did see a small hole in terms of Texas State. The one small hole that I did see from Texas State is, again, they over-rotate the map. They really made sure, again, they were trying to get the life advantage to a complete depletion. Exotic had so much room alongside a teammate to get time, and the stack again was pretty good. And they actually took, again, the one player, Zep, out of Art, which just, again, forced all the players to finally form a conga line to get the kills. But, I mean, 2 ticks in that time. Again, it's just really easy to stack B, which goes under the radar so frequently, especially when it comes to the 1vx situations. In this case, a 2v10. It's been done before in Call of Duty. I mean, in terms of letting that sort of slip a little bit, I mean, in terms of, like, what could be done maybe better, I don't know. I think it just has to be centered around making sure, again, that they're prioritizing positioning over kills at that moment in time. The 3-0, though, on the attacking round, I mean, Texas' attacking round was perfect. Their setup was 2 inside of the point, 1 in the outer extremities by the flower bed, and then 1 lurking player in mid. Seems to be the secret formula for a lot of teams. Texas, though, have got the best recipe so far.
Yeah, they absolutely do. I was interested to see how, you know, a control would look differently than that first hard point. And surprisingly, maybe not surprisingly, Texas State showed out. I mean, I kind of want to like hit back on points that we made at the top of the broadcast. I think one of the things that I at least wanted to see from this Texas State team was to see them hit full form that they had at the end of last season early on in this game. Because I think for them to grow and evolve as a roster, I think they need to kind of meet at that midpoint or even at that high point that they were at last season and be able to extend that even further into this year. I think the 17th ranking in the community, I feel like that was a bit low for Texas State. I wasn't sure what the showing was going to be. I know a lot of people coming into this matchup, you see Kaiser, you see Exotic, and the way that Deucer and Zepp were playing in some of those earlier maps, you definitely felt like they were going to be a top tier team, and they absolutely still are, not to give any disrespect to any of those players individually. But they have been outclassed in a few maps here today. I feel like that first hard point, again, could have went a very different way if Texas State didn't make some of those few and slim mistakes. Again, you mentioned a very small hole, and I like that you mentioned that, because when you were playing towards the bottom of Art, and you make that aggressive play out towards Palms, if you're Splody, that's a game-changing play that puts your team in a 4 versus 3 in a spot where you don't have those spawns locked down yet. So Wichita State going to a Hacienda, you can capitalize off of this now. You know that first map, Texas State made small mistakes. If you can find those small mistakes, hey, guess what? That gives you the opportunity rather, to be able to force this to a map 5. But again, Hacienda Hardpoint is a different beast than any other of the maps that we really have in this game at the moment. So taking a step into the light and now seeing this as an opportunity for Texas State to close out this series, I feel rather confident with the way that I saw them take over that control map and ball.
Now, in terms of Hacienda, again, already a player in the lobby that's played this before at the World League level, Mr. John Exotic. Like I mentioned before, the New Gen players, not very much floated in the pool as of recent. Seems to be very inconsistent. Seems to be, again, that players are still understanding their footing and omni movement on this map in a 4v4 setting, because originally, again, it was designed for 5v5, designed for specialists. We're not in that world anymore. We're in a world now where you have to take gunfights a lot in a much different manner and fashion. So Hacienda, I do feel like now in this situation again, Wichita do stand a chance with the seasoned veteran on the lineup. But Splody, I feel like, has kind of figured out every single map at this point from what we've seen so far from him. So I do have to say, there's a huge possibility here for Texas State to really perform.
Early in the season, these matches, as Diep mentioned yesterday, could be big deciders for seeding, other potential things. Later on in the years, teams are going to be fighting for championships for the first time in CCL throughout the regular and postseason. It's going to be conference championships that they're looking at, just like we see inside of not only the NCAA, but of course, every other college spot. So, first break, beautiful. Wichita State opened it up. The ARs, that's what I want to see out of the Shockers. I want to see the Fry Gods come out. We saw Zepp in the S&D with the SMG. Cool, awesome, great. I want to see Kaiser. I want to see Deucer. I want to see guys step up with the ARs in hand. Hacienda is a perfect spot to do that. Very hard to get a lot of chunk time off of P1 on a map like Hacienda, but they do just that, and they're trying to break out to the spawn side. Unfortunately, you're going to get met by DOA, who's in the back end. Texas State have P2 in the Lambo, but watch out Wichita State. They've had an opportunity to make a break here, and guess what? Through the side door, here comes Kaiser.
I mean, Wichita State, again, just rotated about perfectly. From Texas State's amazing break off for the north side, again, it's just over rotation and trying to hunt for kills. And I feel like, again, the P2 was there for them, but one last 1v1 again in the backside is completely ensured Wichita have got spawns now for Garage. And I have to admit, in terms of where Texas State are placing themselves, it comes to the P1 again. Wichita got 30 seconds off it. This is abnormal for Hacienda. They're playing again for a massive lead, and they've set up perfectly. There's only 4 hills in this map, and I feel like now they're just rotating to perfection and making sure the spawns are on point.
And that one hurts if you're Astonished, because not only do you give your team the back line, you waited the entire time. You were up in the side door, but you're like, I'm gonna make the smart play here. I'm gonna wait for my teammates to push back through the map. But Wichita State read it through the back. It was too slow of a hit, and because you didn't make noise inside of that hard point, instead everybody gets set up from Wichita State to play the power positions to hold down the hill once they recognize that the rock hit's not coming through. So when you push everybody through lobby, hey, guess what? You're probably gonna get put into the slaughterhouse, especially when the other team's aware of it. So we've already grown ourselves to a 60, almost 70 point deficit. If you're Wichita State, you feel phenomenal about your opening breaks, but Texas State, you're on the rotation. They've got a few bodies here, but you got to look for Zepp.
Oh, lovely. Texas State defeat the overload of Wichita. Confirm spawns as well for new. A heavy push there through the middle for Wichita State is the only really insurance policy. Again, Deuce is getting information. No tag from the nades. Coordinating the teammates on where to push, where to line them up. This break attempt could be promising. And it's a wonderful opener with Zeps 2 ensuring at least a front break opportunity. Now, with Texas State in this position, have to play for contest here. Have to keep this hill away from Wichita. A huge 60-point lead here. Could easily be 100, making sure, again, Ferg's alive.
I realize they got a snake laying down on the grass. User does his best job to stay alive. We'll toss a nade in. Contention not there just yet. 15 seconds left to play for here in the scrap time. Nobody really across the map. It's going to be a big 1v1. Look for Ferg. Look for Zepp on the opposite side of the map. And Zepp is going to turn around. So Ferg should get the better of him here, and he will. So P4 rotations for Texas State. This is a hill that can turn into a money hill, but it depends on how you break it if you're the team on the offensive. Kaiser going to be the first one in the first body to push up. You got players over by the P2 side. You get the bad timing there if you are DOA. It's a 3 versus 3 back over towards the hill, and 2 players trying to push the middle map.
A lovely stack as well for Texas State. Trophies also insured on hill. And a really awkward choke point to break through for Wichita. Lovely few kills. 4 wiped away. The spawns are in garage. Are they reading the pressure in time? Very difficult to tell. Splodey's going to wrap through lobby and try and ensure a pinch. But one lurking player, Zepp, spawns out from the rest of the pack. This is an awkward paradox now. 2 points of pressure applied. And Wichita cleanly break back onto the point.
And you had Splody, who was playing in their middle map. If he would have waited just a half second longer to make that route, that player wouldn't have spawned up on the opposite side. They had an artificial pinch that got created, so once the pressure came through the rock side, you had the last player who was able to remain. It went 3 for 1, and then that final kill just came through. Very difficult to hold that if you are Texas State. You just have to recognize that you need to block out by the boathouse side. If you do that, you should be able to hold that hill down every time.
And again, news left relatively untouched for the foreseeable. Wichita still posturing for position. Texas State wiped them up, though. And given how the first P1 went, again, 35 seconds went away Wichita. A huge lead established, and now Texas State have to do the exact same performance again, relying on Astonish to stay alive. He couldn't do it previously. More than likely, he's not going to do it again. And this seems to be the moneymaker, Wichita State. They can hold a perfect P1, crucial now to ensuring their lead. 135 to 64 at the clock, and it's going to be a P2 spawn again for Wichita.
Good combination from Texas State. Zepp, oh my god, the timing could not have been worse. Splody is there on new. He's trying to break out to play the back spawns. This time, though, will he play close enough and more tight-knit? to allow the rest of the team to get there. It's going to be split spawns across the map. Boathouse here for Texas State, north side of the map locked down. Zep all the way in the back line, and Sploddy's just trying to play inside of short. Isn't going to realize that one's there just yet. Has to play tucked in the corner and wait for the rest of his teammates. Unfortunately, though, the push just wasn't there fast enough, so Texas State in the back, now trying to make their way forward. Zep, good 1v1, swaps to the pistol, able to make it stick. He's got help over the top. Wichita State break in, and Texas State once again give up the scrap time on P1 to play P2 and get broken out within the first 5 seconds.
And now they're in a position when they have to break. This is too big of a margin. 158 to 79. Texas State now are not forced to make any moves of their own. Kaiser cleans up free in lobby. Spawn still locked in. They're pushing now from Rock. Texas State are really far out from Exotic's position, and it's ensured 15 to 20 seconds of uncontested time. We're looking at 190 points here, Alex.
I mean, is this just Black Ops 4 coming back to Kaiser, coming back to Exotic? Are they just feeling themselves once again here on the map? Probably not. They just probably played it a lot. They probably have good practice on it. But it's a map that makes sense to most players that at least played with the old traditional Call of Duty. I'm not saying that the new players aren't able to play the same way, but on a map like Hacienda that feels a little bit large at times just because you're not exactly sure and you're not able to pick up every lane, it's going to feel a little bit tough to play on. And right now, Wichita State are in a class of their own. Texas State, not even across the 100-point mark. We got to 200 for the Shockers, and now it's Ferguson on the side of the hill for the contention. It's just everybody playing the top plat. Nobody trying to hit a route through anywhere else except straight through the front. You're playing bully ball against the team that's been putting you down 6 school style, and it's just not going to work. 4 down once again. Good Lord have mercy. This game's feeling like it's pretty much over, just like the Control.
I mean, listen, Wichita State got 2 players on their team that have been here before. This right to them is a mirage. It's nostalgia reinvented. 218 to 79. We're really winding back the clock here. But in terms of holding this P1, there's only one player in here, and it's Kaiser. He knows what to do from fences. He reads the positions perfectly, knows where the exits are, and just allows his teammates again to fill the gaps. If he were to die, Zep's there to clear up all the pieces. And look at the rotation for New. 2 players already over there. It's just forward planning to a degree. Perfect timing. An overload for Texas, those try and break on. They have to, but this is where the streaks come into use. A Hellstorm from above. Zep wants to plant this almost on the hill. It's open for him. A perfect time to get it. Sticks it in garage and gets free. Oh my word. If you want to open up a map and close it in fashion, what a way to do it.
8 seconds left here for Wichita State. Texas State trying to break in. Middle map, contention, dead. Players over the top with Kaiser there. The double for the last player remaining. All they have to do is slide challenge around the corner, and that's going to be quick work of him. Oh my goodness, Kaiser long-range shot. It has been beam season here for Wichita State, and they will be walking into the sunset with this one. We're going to a game 5. We'll see Vault Search and Destroy up next.
What a way to finish it off. Wow, Kaiser, that map in particular. Oh, splendid performance. No denying just how important it is to have players in your team when throwback maps are reintroduced into Call of Duty. They know what they're doing. Even on new engine, even with no specialists and a player less, they just find a way to make it work. I mean, Exotic's winding back the years to evil geniuses with the levels of intelligence. And Kaiser, again, what can we say? Playing support, the perfect piece of the puzzle.
That's such a tippy shout out of you. The evil genius is called. God. Oh, I'm so glad someone's an elite ball knower. I love this. I love you. I really do. Don't play with me like that.
I mean, there was no sound. Mine had a sound to it. Yours was just, half-assed.
I mean, if I get a little closer, it sounds a lot wetter. So if you want that, I got you. But I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable yet. We're going to a map 5, and I got plenty of time to make some people uncomfortable. So.
Please move the break now, Alex, before it gets weird.
Yeah, it's already gotten weird. We're going to get even weirder here as we get throughout the rest of the night. It's 10:44 for me. It's like 4 in the morning for you over wherever the hell you are. I can't remember if it's Australia. I can't remember if it's England. I know it's England. I know it's, or not England, but I know it's somewhere in the UK or somewhere over in Europe.
You got it wrong, got it right, got it wrong again, and then finished off of it right. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex
it's the EU, bro.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Dude, the government on broadcast is insane. I'm not going to lie. I know Australia's not in the EU, Dapper. Right, anyways, we're going to send it to a break. When we come back, map 5, Vault, Search, and Destroy. Wichita State, Texas State, vying for early season dominance, and of course, starting off 1-0 in their respective regions.
Towards what we saw from Texas State, maybe they didn't want to play, the S&D of Hacienda. I felt like they had the final say in what was going to happen. And I think in terms of what Texas State could do here, I mean, listen, the ball's in their court. Let's see how they perform.
One game to settle the dust between two teams who maybe don't have necessarily a hardcore rivalry, but have had some hard-fought matches in the past. Sunbelt matchup between both of these two teams who are looking to start the season off 1-0. Wichita State first on the offense, looking to push their way through. Deucer will grab bomb. It looks like it's going to be a double hit in towards at least the middle of the map. You're going to play for a contestation on one, but guess what? It's that straight dodge down into A. You should be able to get this bomb down here in just a moment. Texas State, we'll see what they opt to do on the defensive side. This is where the real strategy comes into place. How do you play the retake on that A site?
It's about timing your lurking player to join the rest of the pack. Zeplo draws the first blood. And a second as well to boot. Yeah, this is where things drastically changed now for Texas State. You're forcing Ferg away from the outer map to join up with Splody and create tension. But the positioning of Wichita State from the break-off was designed to take these fights around pool and nowhere else. I mean, it's just simply perfection and utilizing the most prominent strategy to your advantage. An immediate post-plant situation, Zep allowing room to get 2 free kills in the most spectacular way possible, and then the rest of the players line up in convincing fashion. They have to force themselves onto the site, create trades as fast as possible, make it a 2v2, and it puts them in, you know, compromising positions.
On the defense for Wichita State. Guns warm in the first round. Capitalized off of the positioning they afforded themselves early on. See if Texas State can do that on their same first offensive try. In the middle of the map. Looks like they're just going to try to just hit 3 across the top of the bridge. Exotic walks away with the first gunfight, and that's bombed down. Sure, you can try to chase forward, but Ferg needs to be careful because Exotic still hasn't given himself away. They don't know if he wrapped out back to the spawn. They don't know exactly where he went. So now it's a 1 versus 1, and all of a sudden the map changes around. You could try to play this over towards B, but I mean, Exotic's just kind of running around. I want to give away anything. Codcaster probably just gave away the audio cue, though. And it did.
I mean, not Codcaster as well, but Exotic is the size of whatever you might think to be large. Even I couldn't frame it. I mean, he literally heard the audio cue, had center on one location, and there was no chance for Doe to even register what was going to happen. Exotic's positioning and awareness and IQ is simply astounding. But Wichita get 2 convincing rounds.
That's all I can hear in the comms. He's like, low. He's playing pillars. It's like, cool. I didn't have any information, but I'm glad you guys could hear that in the spectator cam. That's so sick. Call of Duty in 2025, folks. DOA in the middle map. You hit from the defense. 2-2 split, but it's a 4 through middle. Exotic tries to push his way forward. Gunfight goes to the first one. Splody. So we'll survive with 46 HP. Everybody drops into the vault. Now they can play like the Muskrats. Offense gets stalled out. They're going to have to play this into a different spot. You might be able to spot out a few players, but really the home that you made for yourselves inside of the A site. No more.
Deucer as well is getting some lovely picks on the outside here and has completely offset the timing of Texas State. One thing that's really interesting in the 2v2, Texas State, again, one player's used all the utility, the other hasn't. They're planning for post plants, predicting A, but as I say in 2v2s, B's perfectly viable. It's just about exploding the cars around you in the post plant at the right time. That's why holding on to utility and nades is so key for this optimal setup. And guys are just throwing shoulders, betting out shots. A player's through the net though, and it's awfully close to the one player lurking on bomb.
Oh, bad timing. Looks right, excuse me, left when he should have looked right. Those 50-50 gunfights often don't go your way. But as Zep is just going to play the car, he's expecting somebody in through the vault. Astonish is not able to find anything on the map, and it's a collapse that comes from the top side of Art. And of course on the B bomb side as he slides out over towards Palm. So this map has gone completely separate from what we saw early on in the search and destroy for map 2. It seems like Wichita State are getting the better end of the timings at the moment, but the double stacks that they have just feel a touch better.
A little bit. I think in terms of actually the play style at hand here, I'm feeling like Texas State are just really unfortunate. The set players that are meant to hold into nades and the set players are meant to throw them at the start of the round in this situation again, and they would have made all the difference in that 1v2 because the cars were not exploded. It would have pushed Zep away from the site, opened up room to take the kill on top Art. But now for the new round, drove down straight away to block utility, and an immediate post-plant opportunity here for Texas State.
They took too long to get that bomb down, so you're not even going to be able to get the plant through before Exotic drops in. Ferg walks away with the consolation kill, makes it a 3 versus 3. Still plenty of time in the round. Only 25 seconds ticked off that clock. As Astonish and the boys break out through Vault, they've got the entire B site just for themselves. Should be able to get this down. Exotic a bit aggressive over towards the right-hand side, and once again, just not able to get it down. Exotic has just stalled every single push that they've had out, and now the bomb carrier is down. So you put yourselves in the 3 versus 2, and it all comes to Exotic. Although he's not walking away with the kills, he's just thwarting the push.
Oh, Astonish. Lovely to equalize in this position, but look who has control of B. Wichita State. Bomb is actually... Bomb's dropped on B as well. Oh, this is a double blow for Texas State. 28 seconds left. Have to recontrol position. Have to try and force a rotation at Wichita State, but I think they're playing static because they know something's up, and why are they committing towards B so heavily?
Timing goes good. Not for Zep, of course. 1 versus 2. Last alive is Kaiser. Knows that the bomb is down over on B, and they have to make the play here. Plant is in. He's going to have to slide out, and he's going to wrap all the way back around. Does he try to play through Vault? Does he try to play back around? I mean, there's so many different spots that he could come from, but I feel like Vault might be the worst one. He's going to turn back around. Both of them line up for one, but behind him, he slides all the way through. You just can't play the check like that. And I don't want to play nitpicky, because either play would have been technically correct there. Either slide shall out or maybe try to play through a different angle because you haven't been spotted in a minute, but I don't know. It's a tough call. It really is.
It's just in an awkward spot. I mean, the geography of Vault is like, you can win that underground, but only in underground, that particular slide scenario. And it's just, you know, 190-degree turn of the joystick probably would have changed the whole scenario. Or one further slide into Vault would have changed the whole scenario. And he's just in a position again where he had to rotate the whole map. Could have lapped it. But in this new break-off, Deuce was carrying bomb, floating it towards A for the post-plant. One player in support, but a deeper setup this time for Kaiser. He's drawing out fire so they can have more time to set up.
He lays down, but a team kill. Unfortunate for Wichita State. This puts them early in this post-plant situation in a 2 versus 4. Turn slide shots are good, but unfortunately for the Shockers, Texas State make quick work, and off the back end of a team nade, putting them down an extra life than they would have been previous. It's going to be a closer game, and now still 2-3, the margin Wichita State side, yes, but things slowly starting to make a turn. It feels like Texas State might have been able to figure out some things here on the defensive side. At least this is their first retake on the A site that we've seen, so steps in the right direction.
Absolutely. And it's just small adjustments now to claw back it into a free game. But realistically speaking as well, Astonish having some pretty good calls thus far in the last 2 rounds. And Wichita relied heavily on Exotic to be the sort of main initiator for the team. Open up space, clear areas, even as well be a lurker at times. And the win condition now is getting rid of him as fast as possible for Texas State, but 2 players splash balcony, only 1 registered, overload imminent, and they're actually predicting all this pathing so well.
DOA shots, not there. They were shaky, and that allows Deucer just to sprint straight down towards the bottom of the site and at least walk away with 1. Bomb not down, Ferg picks it back up, 1 versus 3, Kaiser last alive yet again. On an island playing by himself. Doesn't hear the slide over towards the left of him. I actually don't know if he was spotted out, but I think he was there. And now the chase is going to be coming from him for Astonish. 13 HP from Kaiser. I mean, he just kind of looked at DOA like, all right, dude, just take me out.
I mean, fair enough. What an opening round. And DOA made a big mistake in terms of actually trigger discipline. Took a risky gunfight. Tried to isolate the kill to get the first blood drawn. I understand that completely. But in terms of the movement, it takes only a second to run from there inside a vault and take cover and give the info away on where he is. I feel like the teammates, again, really compensated well and created this lovely open tandem play from a huge man advantage. As now we actually look towards round number 7, this is where we start to see the attacking side of Wichita State and where they're expressing themselves. Again, Deucer, designated bomb carrier, floating it towards A, with support this time.
Ooh.
No underground hit just yet, but both teams again commit to the same idea. This time around, though, the first blood drawn from Splody, you now start to see exactly where Wichita are falling apart. They don't commit underground anymore. Players exit, and there's, again, Texas players roaming around the middle of the map, picking up all this free space.
I think Texas is just so confident in their ability to retake that A site. Sure, a few rounds don't go their way, but what they continue to do is just send pressure to the middle of the map. So if Wichita State decides to change up their offensive hit, they don't really have an idea of where Texas State's going to be playing on that defensive side until that retake happens. So if they get overloaded or the first gunfight doesn't go their way, they're saying, hey, we're willing to take those free first picks that you're going to give us through the middle of the map instead of having to play direct bully ball on the A site. And I think that's worked perfectly to Texas State's favor. And at this juncture, now you're looking at a roster for Texas State where all of a sudden you were down 0-3. Now you're up 4-3. You've won back-to-back offenses and defenses. The game feels like it's in your sole possession now. Wichita State, you've had the changes made on you. Now it's your turn to step up to the plate. Maybe hit something over 300.
3-player stack towards A is an audacious move. One in Palace can't even support. Lovely opening blood from Doa. And Astonish is removed from the action again. The additional lurking player now for Texas State. In the post plant as well, they need to start reinforcing the site, bunkering up. Wichita are starting to read the pressure quite clearly. And the opener again from Pool is where you start to see again more space being taken.
Zep didn't get the read on Astonish though, and now DOA finds the final blow. Deucer, the last one alive up top on the bridge, has to slide down. He's got a cross on him at the moment. Free fire shots. He just has to run away. He doesn't even realize there's somebody playing inside of P1 still as well. Texas State had so much map pressure, presence, and space taken up. They win 5 straight rounds in a row now to put themselves on match and series point, 1 round away from closing out the better ranked Wichita State roster, putting themselves up 1-0 on the season.
An astonishing recovery from Texas State, down 3 rounds in the final map. They convert 5 beautiful in return. Not just an opener, but at the same time as well, we're starting to see lots of freedom. Ferg and Doa, RC cars added to the itinerary. Can both use them as well to stick him inside a vault, get an explosion, get additional kills. And again, they're just flirting with the ideas and the principles in this moment in time. Wichita State commit towards A heavy, set nades and stuns will be key for information.
Wichita State, they get back to what has been working for them on offense. For the last 2 times, the defensive team has prevailed. Splody just chasing into the spawns. Slide challenge back out. Zep gets absolutely nuked off. Exotic will trade things out to make it a 3 versus 3. 35 seconds on a post-plant retake for Texas State. Ferg slides in through you. Might be able to wrap around and get good timing on Volt, but Kaiser should be able to read this out here. Bad timing. Shot's good. 3-2. 25 seconds. About 15 to the good to make a play. You have to find these final 3 players before you can hop on the defuse, but you're so far away from the site that you might not be able to make anything stick. And if you're DOA, you want to play this streak of 5 in a row. You need a Hellstorm missile potentially later on in the game. Just not enough time here.
Oh, the timing was just a little bit offset. Both players realized from Wichita where the lanes need to be looked. And 2 kills in the exact same fashion, to be fair. Oh, 4-5. We're now starting to build the pressure a little bit more. Momentum out of the hands of Texas State. And a huge confidence boost from Exotic and Co. Wichita feeling a lot better, knowing exactly how the attacking rounds have panned out for them. Great success. Now it's time to tune up the defense. And this time, in this fashion, it's all about where you're breaking off. Is it a spread setup? Are you going to start committing 4 players to one area of the map? Well, this time around Texas State, they send them towards A. 2 nades thrown over the top from Wichita, and no information just yet.
It was so unorthodox on so many of their offensive plays for Texas State. This time, they just bang onto their senses. They get into A. The problem is the spawn has been festered with Wichita State players. DOA gets behind one, though. It's a 3-3 stand. Something that we've seen pretty much every single round thus far. Exotic trying to play out towards Palms. Might get good timing on DOA, but DOA is able to snake all the way back. He finds his way out towards the backside by P4, so he escapes. They try to wrap over to B, but Zep is here. He's laying down by Palms. Oh, this could be a wonderful play if he's able to pop up and make it stick, but the timing has to be favorable here for him. He's going to spot the first player laying down. Should be able to spot back over, and now he knows exactly where these last 2 players are.
Has an aid in the stun as well, just to ensure that space is taken. And Doa this time is actually all alone. Oh, it's just terrible. We're going to be seeing around 11 here, Alex. A punishing diagonal setup here from Wichita State.
I don't know.
And an escape from Doa with 24 seconds left. Surely the clock has to be played here for Wichita.
Don't know where the last 2 players are. You watch one escape, and Exotic with the SMG looks into you to force the round 11. 5-5 here in the Search and Destroy. Once again, nothing incredible that we're playing for at the moment, albeit early on in the season. But I'm telling you, these maps, these series, later on in the year, when it comes to seeding or teams that you don't want to face in the playoffs or regional qualifiers, any of those things from previous seasons and things that might not be there down the road, they make a difference. They are important, and you will come back to hate yourself for losing a big matchup against a team like Wichita State or Texas State here. This is going to be big. I promise you later down the line, it's going to make a difference.
Wichita again. An attacking team at heart. Commit to the same strategy again towards A. Want the fast plant as soon as possible. Trophy encounter to Texas State Esports. Do not want to get tagged for information. And look at how they're stacking this as well. A slight variation on Kaiser's position by Pool. More aggressive to cut the line off balcony.
Calling the RC car. You get your front forward information. Wichita State down below on the site. They're doubled up. Kaiser weak on palms once again. You don't want that team nade to come through, but DOA needs to make the push forward as Exotic's able to find one with the SMG. Lots of time remaining, but at the same time, the map feels so small when you're trying to break back through. Opposite player over by Vault. Wallbang. You know that the player's not in the corner. So a cheeky little contest spot out towards Pool makes it a 2 versus 2. Slide challenge back around. 1 versus 1. This is for the series. Zep, long range shots. Backs off into Vault. He's going to play the time here perfectly, and that's all he needed to do. Astonish gets caught. He tries to sprint out and back up in towards the top of middle map. It might just be a simple drop, and it is. We got players leaving the lobby in Wichita State. Although they lost 5 straight rounds and were down 3-5, the curse holds true. They come back, win round 11, 6-5. They'll start 1-0 on this year.
Intelligence from Zep simply closed out a beautiful series, and Wichita are now added to the win column on the opening match of their CCL season, and already by metrics as well, one of the top teams right now in the West Conference. And I must say, Zep's series performance overall has stood out to me as one of the best so far today. A very impressive player. Exotic surely relishing in the idea right now of where this young man's career could go as we look overall at the rounds. This is astounding. 1 diffuse, 10 elimination rounds, and it really is the true nature of Vault, where you only really win in spectacular fashion, and again, teams committing towards one area of the map and just immediately stuck in a 4v2, 4v1 situation. The advantage pays off every single time.
Yeah, I mean, you see the 3 first bloods there for Texas State in rounds that they don't walk away with. I mean, you can say the 2 for Wichita State at the same juncture, but those are rounds that do hurt, especially early on in the game and later in the game when those Wichita State comebacks start to make their way forward. So, I mean, look, Wichita State, hey, hats off to them. It was almost a Neslo from Texas State, we'll be honest. But Wichita State played to their marks, and in that final search and destroy, I think we saw more of a calm, cool, and collected nature from them. After Texas State rattled off the 4 straight, I said, hey, it's time for Wichita State to make that stand, make some important changes. Those impactful changes were good. Texas State, this is kind of the one hit I wanted to make, kind of as my final point in this series, is that last round when it went back to offense. I had said halfway through the game that Texas was okay with allowing that A site to be knocked off. They were like, okay, we can retake from the top side, and it almost worked. But a lot of those times, Wichita State also did a really good job of being able to play that A site down and compact to where it took Texas State a lot of time to clear out every angle around the pool and then make that final push into the bottom side of Vault and in the Vault little underwater section there where the A-bomb is. And those little 5-10 second time wasters, especially on a map like this where you have to double up for that final hit when you're trying to get back into the A site, can be devastating for your team. Wichita State did exactly that in most of the rounds that they were able to take on offense. Texas State, although they don't commit down to that site immediately every single time, they still made most of those retakes stick. It just wasn't enough, of course, in that final round. And well, we see a banger series once again. I saw Chuck say it in the chat, we're 2 for 2 on the year, by the way. I just want to point that out there.
I mean, there's nothing more I can add to that from a analyst perspective, cast perspective, than, one of the more intense and gripping series we've actually had the pleasure to watch. And I think in terms of Wichita, again, lots to take away in terms of the Vitas and the map pool. Feels like, again, they played to their strengths, but still got taken close by Texas State. I think there's more to give from Texas State from this series, again, in particular, where they only really banned out a red card in particular, and on the occasion, again, a protocol. I felt Wichita, again, are going to try and polish up on these maps and try and eventually introduce Skyline into their selection, because that's where I think they will go from a top 20 team, top 10 team, to really being one of the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of the rankings, the top 25 committee, they've got a lot on their hands this week. We still got one more match up tonight before we finish out our Tuesday and our final matches of week 1. But again, that top 25 committee, are we moving Texas State up? Are we dropping Wichita State down? Are we going to float them around the same juncture? I'd be willing to probably say so. At least in my top 25, I'll probably put them pretty even in the rankings there. Maybe Wichita State just a peak higher because they were able to clutch up in that round 11, but saw a lot of good things out of each of these respective teams. We'll step aside when we come back. We get our final match of day 2 here in week 1 of the CCL 2025 season. I've been Corn. With me is Connie. Back after a bit.